Little Known Galaxy is a cozy single-player RPG, farming, and space adventure game that has come out today. It promises to be a cozy experience full of friendly characters, exploration, crafting, and of course, farming. But with more and more farming sims coming out, specifically more and more space farming sims coming out, is Little Known Galaxy truly a unique experience, or is it just more of the same? I've had the chance to play quite a little bit of Little Known Galaxy, and today I'm here to give you my full first impressions review. Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Payton. It is nice to meet you, it is nice to see you, and welcome to the corner. Little Known Galaxy is a game that I first heard about last year during one of the various Steam Next Fests, which is pretty much when lots of games drop new demos for the first time. Little Known Galaxy has a demo out on Steam, you can still check it out, but after I talked about this game as a demo that had come out, so many of you guys told me it was your favorite demo, that you've played in so long, that I need to try it, that I'm going to love it. And so when Carbon and Kay, the lovely developers behind Little Known Galaxy, reached out and asked me if I wanted to check out the game before launch, I said yes, because I am picky and I needed to know what all the hype was about and if I really was going to love this game as much as so many of you thought that I would. And as always, just because a game is gifted to me does not change my opinion on the game. I'm still gonna give you all of my thoughts, but a big thank you and shout out to Carbon and Kay for gifting me the key to the game so that I can share it with you guys. Now, if you've never seen any of my review videos before, I always like to call this a first impressions review. With farming and life sim games, I feel like you need to play a lot of hours to see all of the mechanics. I've played about 10 hours of the game, which I think is a solid enough amount of time to get my opinions on the game, experience most of it, but not quite enough to say that I've seen it all. Hence, first impressions review. I'm going to be breaking the game down in a few categories and giving you my pros and cons for each of them. I like to do my reviews like this because I still have some cons to even my all-time favorite games, and even games I really don't like, I can usually find pros to, so hopefully giving you my pros and cons for all of the different categories of the game will help you decide if this one is worth checking out for you. But before we get into it, please be sure to click the lovely little like button, as well as subscribe for more cozy, chaotic content, and if you want to see me play cozy games live, maybe even Little Known Galaxy, be sure to check out my live streams over on Twitch, as well as right here on YouTube, as I stream to both platforms multiple times a week, and we would love to see you at a stream. Okay, I'll shut up. Let's get into the review. Let's start out with our very first category, which is the story of Little Known Galaxy. And don't worry, I won't be giving you any major story spoilers at all. The story follows your character, who has just joined Space Alliance as a new captain in training. It's your job to work with your quirky crew to solve the mysteries of an ancient relic found on the Gray Planet, and then beyond to other planets in the galaxy. The main story focuses on the components of exploring different planets, building relationships with your crew, and a great deal of crafting and farming. So let's start out with my pros for this game's story. My biggest pro to the story is that it has a really nice pace to it. If you've ever played a farming sim game and immediately felt overwhelmed, you may enjoy Little Known Galaxy because it does have a little bit of a slower progression. That said, it's not slow in a boring way. It actually feels slow in quite an intentional way. It is clear and makes sense that you need to explore and unlock certain things to do other things. And the game does a really good job of showing you things that you'll get to unlock later on to keep you excited, like certain buildings around the ship that are locked at the start of the game. But then, the game also will totally surprise you with features that you didn't see coming. So it's a nice balance of seeing, I think that thing may be something that's important in the future, and also things that pop up that you didn't even expect. Another pro that I have is that the gameplay tied to the story feels purposeful and meaningful. The main story will lie mostly outside of your ship, in exploring the different planets. The aspect is cool in itself because exploring the different planets gives you new resources, and some of the aliens you meet can come back with you to live on the ship, so it feels like something that's worth doing. A lot of the times when I play a farming or life sim, I feel myself wanting to totally ignore the main quest line to kind of just like do whatever I want instead. But in Little Known Galaxy, it makes you want to actually follow through the main quest because it will help you in every other part of the game, and I think it makes it pretty exciting. As for cons, I don't really have any for the story quite yet. I'm definitely not finished with it. There is around 60 hours of story content in the game, depending on how fast you go, so I definitely have quite a bit more to experience, but so far, story is clear, purposeful, and I'm interested to see how it unfolds further. Now, let's talk about the world of Little Known Galaxy, which we can pretty much separate in two parts: the ship and the planets. Most of the game will actually take place on your starship, which you'll get to name at the beginning of the game. I, of course, called mine Sloth Starboard, which I think is a pretty good name. The ship will have 7 different floors for you to visit, each of which have their own unique buildings, shops, and decor. Let me give you the tour. Let me show you what we're working with. The first floor features the captain's quarters, aka where you live. And your area actually has both an indoor and outdoor space. And there's also the area outside of where you live where you can steer the ship to other planets. The second floor has the science and medical buildings, and also a cute little coffee shop. The third floor is where most of the crew lives, each with different designs for their homes. The fourth floor is the plaza, where most of the major shops are, like the general store, the gym, the restaurant, and so on. Fifth floor is for recreation. There is a school, a playground, and even a garden. Sixth floor is for cargo and the shuttle to go out on other planets, as well as the hardware store to help you make upgrades. And the 7th floor is the engine room, where you can actually fuel the ship to go to further planets. And then other than the ship, you also have the planets. You'll first start the game with access to the Gray Planet, which is a pretty stereotypical spacey look with a moon sort of vibe. And then you'll unlock more planets later, like a water planet and even a desert planet. Now let's start out with my pros for the world in this game. My biggest pro is the way that the ship is laid out, and how it is much more of a vertical than a horizontal map style. I think this feature of having different floors and how they're categorized really helps you find where you're going. Like, it is just laid out for you. Especially in a game like this, where the day speed is quite fast, you're not going to waste so much time wondering where the heck you're going, at least when you're on the ship. Going off of that, I really love the elevator and stair mechanic that gets you from floor to floor. I have to admit, when I first saw the map style being vertical, I was so worried that we were going to have so many loading screens when we go in the elevator and that it was going to be really annoying. But this game manages to actually be very seamless with the elevator. Like, it is just like a second long, so you're not burdened by monotonous loading screens. Even if you're going from floor 1 to floor 7, it literally takes a second. And you also have the option of walking through the staircase if you'd rather do that as well. Another pro that I have is that the locations do indeed feel spacey, like we want them to, but they still are full of personality. We'll touch a little bit more on this later when we talk about the coziness factor of this game, but a lot of times cozy space games for me just like get too scientific and spacey, and they lose their cute, cozy vibe, which I am like, you know, that's why I'm here. That's what it's all about for me. But Little Known Galaxy definitely maintains its cute and cozy vibe while still featuring a lot of machines and equipment and really nailing the space vibe. Going off of that, I really like that each floor in the game feels pretty unique, so even though you're on the same ship, it feels like there is a variety of places to go that feel unique. Another pro that I have is that each planet literally feels like a different planet. This isn't a game where every planet is just the same, full of gray, dusty rocks. When you go to a new planet, you are in a new world, filled with new colors, decor, and of course, new aliens. Now, let's get into my cons for the world of the game. The first of which can be seen as a pro if you actually like a little bit of a challenge, but I think it's a little difficult to get from planet to planet. This game has a really interesting feature where when you want to take the ship to another planet, after of course you've completed whatever story quest you need, you can actually craft fuel to take you to the next place, and it will take you a few days in-game to get to the next location. It's interesting because you'll actually get to see the ship moving, and the stars moving through the window is like really pretty and cool, but it's a con for me because if you have unfinished business in the previous planet, it will not only take you a lot of time, but a lot of resources to go back. I'm not sure if later on you can just jump from planet to planet easily, so I'll definitely be sure to stay tuned for that as I continue playing, but if that were the case, I think it would make things a lot easier. Other than that, my only con about the world is that there aren't seasons in the game. Time is actually broken into quarters. So quarter 1 is the first 28 days, then quarter 2 is the next 28 days, and so on and so on and so on. So similar to how most farming sims are laid out, where you start on a Sunday, 28 days, boom, season 1, season 2. But this one, it's quarters, not seasons, so you're not really seeing seasonal changes along the ship. I've only played through the first season and a little bit of the second season in my approximate 10 hours, so not sure if we see more changes to the ship's decor later on, but I would love to have seen some different changes as we go out through all of the quarters, but hey, maybe that's something that's upcoming that I need to look out for. Next, let's talk about the characters in Little Known Galaxy. You'll start out with a tight-knit crew of 20 aboard your ship, but you'll be sure to meet many new friends along the way. And like I said before, you may even get to bring some new people back to your ship. You will build relationships through daily dialogues, sharing gifts, story cinematics, mission objectives, and eventually you'll get to know each other more intimately through your long journey together. The more you develop these relationships, the more your tiny community will feel like home. You can even date and marry one of the 10 singles aboard the ship, each one with a unique backstory and a wide range of personal likes and dislikes. And if you win their affection and upgrade to a large home, you can even pop the question. Once married, you'll have a lifelong companion to share your quarters with, and you can even marry someone that is an android, alien, or genetic clone, apparently. So let's talk about my pros for the characters. First of all, your character is indeed customizable. You can change things like your hair and skin tone to a wide variety of colors, both from normal to more alien-like. You can pick accessories and even unlock more designs later on. You get to choose between 2 body types in the game, and the game will always just refer to your character by name or captain, so you don't have to worry about limiting pronoun options. As for the other characters, I'm definitely still getting to know them. I feel like I always want to run to the characters in these kind of games, like in marry and date. If you've seen this channel, you know I'm trying to date everybody in the games. But in this one, I've really been trying to explore a little bit of everything. So definitely still getting to know the characters. But so far, what I do really like is the variety and diversity among them. The robots are definitely my favorites, from CPU, who is pretty much like your main guide through the game, to the little shipping bin robot who you can sell things to every day. So cute. 2 robots you'll get to craft later on that will help you with your farm work. They're all super cute. I do also like the romanceable character options. It feels like we do have a nice selection and they don't feel exactly the same. It's clear that they have their own jobs, their own thoughts and feelings, and particularly I like that they aren't like super optimistic. Like some of them are quite existential about the space travel and going to all the planets, which I think is really kind of refreshing because, you know, it feels more realistic and authentic that way. I also like that each planet not only has its own unique characters you can talk to, but there's also a wide variety of alien monsters to fight, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. And I also really like that you can progress friendship just by talking, meaning you don't always have to give them items or do a quest for them. You can just get them to like you by talking to you, which I always think is super helpful. And you can also keep track of their favorite items, which is also very helpful. and you can even keep track of them using a locator to find where the NPC of your choice is hiding at any given point. There's also a whole other set of characters I have not even mentioned yet that are called Xenos. They're definitely one of my favorite parts of the game so far. Xenos are alien pets that you can have in the game. They kind of look like Club Penguin Puffles to me a little bit. But pretty much you get to hatch and raise a variety of them, and they'll even help you with resources in the game. Now that you've heard my pros, let's get into my cons for the characters. Honestly, not that many, but I do wish there were more than 2 body options. That being said, 2 body options is already like way more than most pixel farm sims will give you. But yeah, I would just love to see even more diversity because we have so many options when it comes to skin tone and hair color, so would have loved to see some more body options to choose from for our character. And my only other con is like me. It's a me problem. I'm just greedy. I just want even more people to romance. Like the options we have are good. I think everybody will find someone they like from that bunch. I have a couple people I like, but just like, I don't know, every planet, give me like 5 more people that I can date. That's my perfect game. Now let's dive into our biggest category. Let's talk about gameplay mechanics. Starting with the gameplay mechanics that I really like. My biggest pro overall is that Little Known Galaxy feels really inventive across the board. I have been talking about this a lot on my channel recently, about how every single game with farming in it is starting to feel exactly the same, because they all have the same exact mechanics. But it being complicated because if a game doesn't include a lot of the mechanics that most of us really like from a farming sim, then it feels like the game is almost incomplete. So how do you give us the mechanics that we know we like, but then do it different so your game actually feels like a unique and different experience? And Little Known Galaxy has obviously figured that out. Specifically in this game, the farming is unique because you have these little robotic planters that you'll put your crops in rather than the ground. You know, because you're on a spaceship, which like has a metal ground, steel ground, some kind of material ground that is not dirt. So you're not planting in the ground on this one. And instead of a watering can, you'll use a watering gun, and you can customize where your planters are super nicely, and they'll even light up at night, which I think is really cool. And something that's really cool, not just about the farming, but all of the crafting, is that everything runs off of energy. So you'll actually need to craft solar panels and energy sources that will make it so you can actually run and use the machines like the planters. It's an interesting mechanic because it adds a new, and I think, fun level of management that's not something I've seen before. You can also move machines easily and put them away if you don't have enough energy, which I think is really helpful. And I mentioned this a bit before, but you do have an entire indoor and outdoor space, which is absolutely huge, and it makes the decorating and crafting opportunities feel really exciting. Another gameplay mechanic that I think is like farming sim, but then done different, is the planet exploration aspect. So when you visit a new planet, you'll have 2 main areas to explore. There's the part where the main quest/characters are, and then the mine. Okay, it's not called a mine in this game, but if you've played any other farming sim ever, this is like the mine. You'll explore the planet by hitting stones, digging, and fighting alien monsters to try to advance to the next part of the planet. And then when you get to a certain level, you'll hit a new checkpoint, which is much like going deeper and deeper into a mine that saves every 5 levels, every 10 levels, or whatever. And each level has different materials, resources, and of course, monsters. And I think it's the perfect way to incorporate a mine style, but not have it be a mine at all. Similarly, if you like catching fish in other games, you may enjoy catching microbes in this one. Unless there is a more fishing-like mechanic that comes into play later on in the game, I'm going to directly compare the catching microbes to catching fish. After you get to a certain point in the main quests, you'll be visited by the doctor who tells you that the ship has like germs in it, and you need to catch all the germs to study them so people don't get sick and you keep everybody healthy. So you get this little device and you can use it pretty much anywhere to scan for microbes. And if you get close, you'll be notified which direction you need to go to, and then right when you find the microbe, a little mini game will occur where you need to click the ring at the right time to discover the species. You can sell the microbes or use them for quests, and even hit new records as you discover different sizes and qualities, much like catching fish in other games. Another mechanic that I enjoy is that when you pass out in this game, either you're not good at the combat, like myself, or you just stay up past your bedtime, the game is not going to punish you too harshly. You're not going to lose your money, you're not going to lose your resources, you will just be taken to the next day, and you'll wake up with a little bit less energy that of course you can refill by eating various things on the ship. Another one of the big gameplay mechanics that I enjoy is overall, the game feels like the level of grinding is reasonable. You definitely need to grind in this game, whether it's collecting resources, farming, following quests, there's always something to do, but it doesn't feel relentless and annoying. It feels like you are always working towards something all of the time, but it doesn't feel stressful to me, and it doesn't feel like the quests pile up super high like they might in other farming games. Another mechanic that's a pro for me and I enjoy is the fact that at the end of each quarter, you get ranked. And it takes everything that you do in the game in account. You'll get ranked not just in how much you explore, but also the crew morale, making it feel like every single part of the game is important and worth paying attention to. Now let's get into my cons, some gameplay mechanics that I wish were a little bit different or that I'm not understanding, one of which being a big one for me, and I'm sure this gets better as it always does in every single game like this ever, but it's when you start the game, your energy is going to deplete very fast. I do feel like I can only hit like a few rocks or like a couple aliens, and then boom, my energy is already done. And I think it wouldn't be so apparent if it weren't for my next point, which is that the forage in this game, the forageable items that you'll pick up along the way, there aren't a lot of food forageables, at least on your ship. Most of the forageables you'll find are like mechanical parts, wires, and things like that. So there's not a lot of things that you can eat that you can just find, meaning to keep your energy full, you're going to probably be using all of the things that you're growing, or you're going to be spending a lot of your money buying other food. When you get to the planet, there is sometimes food forage that you can dig up, but I just don't think it satisfies the energy meter that much. So that's definitely something I'm struggling with the early game, but I'm sure as I upgrade my tools and my character raises up in the ranks, that probably will solve itself out. Going off of that, forage. The forage in this game, at least when you're on the ship, is just depicted as like sparkles. There's just like sparkles and you can click on them and then boom, you get a random item. I get why they do that, and I do think the sparkles are cute, but I do kind of wish we got to see the icon of whatever item it was instead of it just being randomized, because there are some items specifically that you'll find through forage that are super important to crafting certain machines, and they're a little tricky to find. So I feel like I accidentally walk by the sparkles a lot of the time because I don't notice them, and I would just love to see like the icon of, oh yeah, that's the part I need, let me go pick it up. But it's a little bit similar to other farming games where like when there are worms in the ground and you hit the worms and then you get the item. So I get what they're trying to do, but I think it just would be more helpful to see what it is that we're picking up in the forage. My next con is that I think the exploration for the planet, the mine, is actually pretty difficult. Again, I'm sure it gets easier as you upgrade your tools and stuff, but I think it's tough to progress even past the first checkpoint. Like, I have definitely been struggling with getting to the next save in the mine, and I think it's because the room that you're in for the planet, and I don't know if it gets bigger as you go on to later planets, but the first two are very similar. The room that you're in to explore is not like a traditional mine where there are like turns and curves where you can kind of like hide from the monsters. You can hide behind your ship like a little bit, but it's kind of a smaller room and it's usually like filled with monsters. So you can't really like run away from them that much like you might be able to in other games. So you need to fight them, which is fine, but then your energy depletes so fast and then you can't keep digging or hitting the rocks to try to find the entrance to the next space. So because of that, I think it's a little hard to progress. I think if it was like there were more like turns that you can go into or more things to hide behind, it might help with it a little bit more. Or if it was just there was a better chance for the food forage to spawn. Or if it was just that the fighting the monsters didn't deplete your energy as much. I just think it's a little tough to progress. I enjoy it, it makes me determined and I want to get through it, but it is a little tricky. Next, let's get into my very favorite category, what I like to call the coziness factor of the game. This is a Cozy Games channel, this is a cozy game, and they actually call it a cozy game too. It's not just me assigning the cozy game label to it. They go ahead and call this game cozy. So I want to talk about what I think is cozy about this game and what I think might not be cozy about this game. As always though, coziness is subjective, so what's cozy to me might not be cozy to you, and that's cool and that's good. Let's get started with what I think is very good, a big pro for cozy gamers. First of all, the tutorial style I think works perfectly for a cozy game. Unlike most farming and life sims that kind of like throw you to the wolves and make you figure out every single thing ever, Little Known Galaxy does do a very good job of guiding you through the game with tons of tutorials, but they don't do it in a way where it's overwhelming, I think, where you're just like, okay, like, let's get to it. I think that it is very reasonable. They tell you what you need to do. I already mentioned the story progression at the beginning. They give you things in little bursts and tell you how to do it and then move on. And I just really like how the tutorial style is done. I think it's really suitable for cozy gamers. The next thing that feels super cozy to me is the overall style of the game. I touched on this earlier, but the game does a great job of featuring space and scientific elements while keeping it still anchored in coziness. A lot of alien games I just can't get into because they feel too much with the aliens and the machines and the like hardness that comes with that. But Little Known Galaxy does a good job of incorporating all that stuff, but definitely keeping its own unique flair that I think really suits cozy gaming, specifically what I look for in a cozy game, which has a very cutesy style. Going off of that, the music is also very joyous and it really adds to the ambiance, so I really enjoy that as well. And something else that feels cozy to me there are a lot of decorations and things to craft. I'm still early on, so my quarter is not stunningly beautiful yet, but I can see some of the cute things that exist and that you can build, and it seems like there is a lot to keep building and building, which I think makes it feel pretty cozy. I also really like that you can't die in the game, and like I said before, when you do pass out, there are not crazy consequences, so you don't have to stress too much. Even if you are really bad at the combat or you run out of energy, you're just gonna go to sleep and wake up the next day. It's not that deep. And to reiterate some other things I talked about in other categories, just pointing them out, I think they feel pretty cozy. The characters that feel wholesome yet still realistic, as well as the world style, and the pet mechanic is something that I think feels extra cozy. Now, let's get into some things that you might not find as cozy. First off, as far as I know, you cannot turn off the combat in the game. Or, like I said before, really avoid it. I like it, okay? This is Combat Corner. I'm trying to fight the aliens and make it to the next checkpoint. Like, I'm trying. But I know some of you guys don't like that, and you like in games you can turn the monsters off and just like go through the mine. As far as I know, you can't turn the monsters off in this one, and you definitely do need to go into the planets to explore in this game. It's kind of not like you can just avoid it. Most of the resources you need will be from the planets, so if that's not for you, you may find a little bit of an issue with this one. As well as, in a similar vein, the microbe mechanic. As far as I know, you also can't turn that off. I really like the minigame. It's simple. You just have to like click on the ring when it hits, but I think it can be a little bit confusing. I was confused at first because I thought you were trying to click on the question mark in the center. You're not. That's where the microbe will appear. You're trying to do the outer ring, and they're all like shades of blue. So I think it might be a little bit tough for certain people to see visually. You don't need to hunt for the microbes that much, but you definitely have like a quest you need to do with them. So you don't have to be like me, who's like running around finding microbes all over the ship because I like the mini game so much. But it definitely is a part of the game, and it may be tricky for some players. Also, the rings go quite fast, so it's definitely a challenge. And speaking of fast, the day speed is quite fast in this one. It's no faster than Stardew Valley or Coral Island if you play on the fastest speed. It's very, or like Fae Farm. It's very comparable to those games on their default speeds. But I know some of you think that is quite fast. I averaged about 15 to 20 minutes in real life per in-game day. Of course, depending on if there's a cutscene, which will stop the time, of course, or if I passed out early and the day ended early. So you're looking about 15, 20 minutes per day, which I have gotten used to for sure, but I do know some people find that to be quite fast. And finally, my last con is just that you can't save in the middle of the day. This might not be a con for you because a lot of farming and life sim games are this way. You can only save when you finish the day, but more and more farming sims are coming out where you can save midday, which I really like because so many times I'm ambitious and I start the next day, but then I have something to go and do in real life. So I either have to abandon the day and not save and lose whatever I've done, or I need to just like speed run to the end of the day. I just think it would be a nice feature if we could save midday, but not the biggest deal in the world. Now let's get into some logistics for the game, and then I'll tell you my overall thoughts on the entire experience so far. I've talked a lot about the game, but I haven't told you a lot of the information yet. So let's talk about the information. Little Known Galaxy is out right now. It came out today, the day I'm posting this, which is May 20th. It is out on PC, Mac, and Steam. It also has full controller support and is Steam Deck verified. And I played personally on my PC with controller and even more so on my Steam Deck, and I ran into literally zero issues whatsoever. Like, I didn't encounter any bugs or stuttering or anything at all. It ran great on Steam Deck, and it was very comfortable to play handheld or sitting at the PC with controller. Now, I just told you the platforms it's already out for, but the developers have noted that localization and future ports are potential possibilities depending on people's interest. AKA, if you want this game on Nintendo Switch, you have to let them know. Leave a comment below, be like, yes, we want it for Switch. Or more importantly, be sure to follow the game's development by wishlisting the game on Steam, or following the developers and the Little Known Galaxy socials is a great way to let them know, we want the game on Switch. Because I know you're gonna ask. That's the answer. That's the answer. Also, I just want to highlight something that I think is really, really special. Little Known Galaxy is made by a two-person development team. It's made by a very kind husband and wife team who have obviously put like a lot of love into the game. And I just think that's something really cool to highlight and celebrate, that they made a game of such, spoiler alert, I mean, you can tell I like the game, that they've made a game of such high quality, and it's two of them. More logistics, the game is available for $19.99 USD. That is my region. I'm coming to you from North America, New York, New York. Prices, of course, depend on your region, so be sure to check on your Steam page. But also, please note that there is a free demo of the game. So if you want to check it out before committing, the free demo, it's available to play right on Steam. And the demo will carry over to the main game if you decide to purchase it. So you won't have to like start from the beginning again and things like that, which is great. Also, Also wanting to know the length of the game. The length of the game will be about 40 to 60 hours for the main story quest, depending on how fast or slow you go through it. But it's gonna be more like 60 to 100 hours if you're a total completionist. And then even then, when you finish the game's main story, get all of the items, you can still continue to play on, get to know all of the characters, decorate, farm, do all of that kind of stuff. Now let's get into my overall thoughts. I think you can tell I really like Little Known Galaxy. Circling back to my original question at the top of the video, do I think Little Known Galaxy brings something unique to this genre, or do I think it's just more of the same? I definitely think it's the first. I think it actually is really unique. I think it does a really good job of giving me what I want in this kind of game, but packaging it in a way that I've not seen before, and then surprising me with new features that I haven't quite experienced in other games yet. While I, of course, have highlighted some different cons, I always have cons for even my most favorite games. I think the cons I have are pretty minor. Like, none of those cons I think were anything earth-shattering and crazy. Just most of it I think was based off of my own personal preference, not things that I think are like game-breaking or game-ruining. I think it's just what I've grown to be accustomed to in games, what I like, what I dislike. So I definitely think my pros outweigh the little cons that I have, and the cons that I have are not that deep. In essence, I'm really excited to play more. I had so much fun making this video. I'm excited to get this video out because I'm planning on streaming this game today as well. And I'm excited to share it with you guys because I do genuinely think a lot of you guys will enjoy this game as much as I have. But I'm really interested to hear your thoughts down below. Will you be checking out Little Known Galaxy? Have you checked out the demo already? What looks interesting to you? What doesn't? I want to hear all of your thoughts down below. And be sure to stay tuned for potential live streams that are upcoming, where I'll be playing some more Little Known Galaxy with you guys. Please be sure to click the lovely little like button on your way out, as well as subscribe for more cozy, chaotic content. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to Carbon and Kay for gifting me the key to check out this game so that I could share it with you. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.